My guest today is Jin Yu. Some of you may know him as Wolf Lion. He has become one of the leading influencers on Clubhouse, and he just so happens to be one of my very best friends for over 10 years now. Jin, I'm so excited to have you on finally.
Oh, the pleasure and honor is mine. You're one of my favorite people, and I am delighted to be here.
You are honestly one of the most brilliant minds that I have ever come across, to a point where it's like almost intimidating how knowledgeable and smart you really are about so many things.
Oh my God, that's insane. I never knew you even like felt that. That compliment is way too overly generous, and wow, I don't even know how to how to process that. But thank you for that. I adore you, and I think you are absolutely brilliant. So coming from you, that's an unbelievable compliment.
Thank you. Okay, so of course I Googled you. One of the first headlines that comes up is Clubhouse influencer Wolf Lion, aka Jin Yu, hosts historic Time magazine NFT drop. Okay, first of all, can we kind of start with like a Clubhouse and NFTs for dummies kind of thing? Like, what happened? What does all of this even mean?
Yeah, well, I joined Clubhouse back in November, right around Thanksgiving. I was living with my parents, hiding out from COVID in Minnesota. I currently live in LA for the last 20 years. And I just needed some office banter. So I would turn on Clubhouse because it helped pass the time. And then I would find these conversations fascinating. So I would join in these conversations. And before I knew it, I built this audience. I think it was like 20,000 by January, 30,000 by February, and it was growing so fast. People loved my conversations, and I spoke. I've been, this. I'm in the blockchain music space for 4 years, so I've been familiar with NFTs. And there was a lot of, a lot of people asked me to host some NFT crypto art rooms back in November, December, because they said they saw me grow from 5 to 10, 15,000. And I said, what is an NFT crypto art room? And, I just found myself being curious. And because I had a bigger reach organically, I try to help these people, and I would host and mod these rooms and get educated. And slowly these crypto NFT art rooms started growing from 30, 50, 100, 500. And now these rooms are in the thousands. So a lot of the rooms I'm hosting in Clubhouse have a lot of people, and a lot of people love talking about NFTs and crypto art.
Okay, so that's still such an abstract concept to me. What exactly does that mean? So, okay, I have a painting behind me. So now if I want to turn it into crypto art or into an NFT, what do I do? How does that work? Where do you start? What does that mean?
Sure, sure. So basically, an NFT crypto art is anything that can be made inside your phone or computer. If it's digitized, like music, like a 3D image or a video, anything that's digitized, the moment it's inside your phone or computer, you can then upload it. You could upload it to Instagram right now and publish it for 1 million people to see. Is that right?
Right.
So it's the same thing, except instead of uploading to Instagram, you're uploading to an NFT marketplace, and there you're doing something called minting your work as an NFT. So think of the word minting as publishing, and instead of publishing on Instagram, you're publishing on a blockchain, platform that hosts NFTs. NFTs are basically a picture or any kind of digital work that can be hosted somewhere and tied to the blockchain. So it's proven to be yours forever. And then the beauty of that is if you sell that piece of work or a song or painting or whatever, you can attach a royalty rate, let's say 10%, 15%. And every time it's bought and sold forever, you collect that 15% forever.
Wow. Okay, so when you did the Time magazine cover auction, what does how do I ask this question? So what does a person who actually buys those, because I think you were able to sell them for almost $500,000, right?
That's
The
right. Yep.
magazine covers.
Mhm.
So what does the buyer get? What is their incentive to buy those covers?
So what they get is the fact that these are the first 3 covers from Time Magazine ever minted. So that's called their Genesis drop. Genesis means their first.
Uh-huh.
So it's like if you're collecting a Picasso, would you rather have his very first painting that he made or his 100th or something like that? So some people feel that because it's a genesis of anything, it's worth collecting. It makes it more collectible.
Yeah.
So these are the first 3 covers that Time launched. And the fact that you own it, it's on the blockchain, it just means that you have it forever. There can never be a copy of it. Nobody else, you could take a screenshot, you could sell it off and do whatever, but there's no value in it because there's only one person who actually owns it. So let's say that you own the original Mona Lisa and it's held at the Louvre Museum.
Mhm.
You don't care if there's a million college kids with posters of the Mona Lisa, do you?
No.
In fact, the more it gets out, the more the original has value. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes the mechanics of collectibles work like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, so uh, let me take a step back for a second. You and I know each other because of some of the celebrity events that you were doing. That's how we met, and we did. I think the first event we did together was Madonna's charity event, raising Malawi, right, for her
Oh
charity.
yeah, I think so.
That's the first thing we worked together on. So, how does that world help kind of this world where you have become this leading influencer on Clubhouse? Because I see you hosting rooms with everyone from Post Malone to Edward Snowden. It's really fascinating. How did you even become like the king of Clubhouse where you're doing all of that?
It's so funny. People throw around that word, king of Clubhouse, and it's so odd to me because I'm just on it because I just have nothing better to do, and it's just a great way to connect with people. But in all seriousness, Clubhouse is amazing because what do I do all day? What do you do all day? Like if you have a job, you probably have something to sell, or you have a product, or you a skill or a book. We all have a job. We're selling something, are we not?
Right.
And then typically, if we're selling something, and this is every company in the world, they're all selling. What are they doing? They're on a phone call or a Zoom all day long with one-on-one conversations like this.
Yeah.
But instead of a one-on-one conversation, why don't I just open up a room about what we're talking about and then open it up to thousands of people at a time? And what if I did that 5 times a day? Now I'm talking to 5 to 10,000 people a day. And if I'm talking about music and blockchain and people like what they have to say to me, now they're gonna flood my inbox rather than me reaching out to them. And I can just pick and choose who's relevant. So there's no comparison living the old way versus doing work the new way on Clubhouse. There's absolutely no comparison.
Can you please explain for people who don't know what exactly is a blockchain?
Absolutely. So blockchain is a way of storing information um, on a computer or multiple computers actually. So when you store your money at Bank of America, all that information, which are ones and zeros on a website, um, goes to a central server. So inside the central server, it connects hundreds of thousands of employees at Wells Fargo and millions of customers, and they all transact through a central server. Facebook, they have a central server. Same with Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they all have central servers. The problem with central servers is, although they have, military grade encryption and protection, the fact that you're one big target means you're just one big entry point of weakness if somebody can hack you. So the moment you get hacked and infiltrated, now they can take things like money. Equifax lost 200 million social security numbers. So a central server is a big target. So it's vulnerable. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
A blockchain, let's say the Bitcoin blockchain, is millions of smaller computers. When you hear about Bitcoin miners, blockchain miners, they're letting you use their servers, their computers to host your information. And then in exchange, they're getting tiny bits of Bitcoin. That's their reward. So instead of one server, you've got millions of servers. So let's say I hack into one server in the Bitcoin blockchain. That blockchain will be like, okay, you can have all of Sona's money, no problem. But first, let me double check with all my other server buddies, and there could be a million of them. And all of them will say, no, 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 you're being hacked, don't do it. And this original server will say, no, sorry, can't do it. You'd have to hack all the servers simultaneously, which is impossible to do. It's the power of the Bitcoin blockchain is as powerful as 500 of the world's supercomputers combined times 10,000.
Wow.
That's so would you rather hold your money and your information on a central server or on a blockchain?
Of course, a
There's
blockchain.
no comparison. A
Yeah.
blockchain is infinitesimally more powerful, and it's strong, much stronger encryption. Will someday could it be vulnerable? Absolutely, anything could be vulnerable. But there's no comparison between a central server and a blockchain. Everything must be held in a blockchain for security purposes alone, let alone the democratized value of it.
That's fascinating. So the three Time magazine covers that sold for nearly $500,000, uh, how is how is that kept from being vulnerable? Like, how do you know that that money is secure and that investment is secure?
Sure. So that when you have three covers like that, you're basically digitizing a physical cover. You're taking a 4, 5, 8K resolution image and you're uploading it, just like you're uploading to Instagram. But
Mhm,
instead of Instagram, you're uploading it to an NFT marketplace,
mhm.
a platform, and you're trusting that they have very good security within the blockchain that they're minting on. And in this case, it would be the Ethereum blockchain, also a very powerful blockchain. And no blockchains have ever been hacked. So you want to hopefully believe in the trustability and unhackability of the blockchain. And again, instead of uploading to Instagram, where somebody could just hack into Instagram and steal all your pictures, you're uploading to the blockchain via an NFT marketplace or platform, and then it's sitting there forever, minted as yours, and that can never be changed or altered.
Jen, I remember you told me that you know digital artists who have actually become millionaires or millionaires overnight because of NFTs. So, what is it about this NFT world that has been giving artists, especially visual artists, a chance to make a living off of their visual artwork versus like all of the real world that we've been living in, because it's so much harder to find galleries that host your artwork and distribution and all of these things. So what is it about the NFT world that has given visual artists a chance to make a living off of their artwork?
If you look at the art world, traditional art world, like let's say Christie's, Sotheby's, or Phillips auction houses, let's say that they auction off a Picasso painting and it goes for $20 million. They might take a 30-40% fee because they're doing something called provenance. And provenance is proving the history of the work, making sure that it's not a fake, a forgery, a counterfeit. And they're doing all the work, the due diligence, tracking where it's been to prove it is what it is. That's
Mhm.
called provenance. Provenance is very valuable. It's just verifying something. It's record keeping. It's data collection. With the blockchain, it's the perfect form of provenance because once it's on the blockchain, it can never be erased. It's there forever. It's unhackable. It's immutable. It's unchangeable. It's just there forever. So when you think about the collectible industry, what are the things that are collectible? Baseball cards, Cabbage Patch Kids, Pokemon cards, like all of these. There's so many. Look at Supreme. Supreme sneakers. They'll do like a sneaker drop, and then kids will wait 2 days. They'll buy these sneakers and then flip them for $10,000. That company was sold for $2 billion, and all they do is make things that can be knocked off in China in half an hour.
Wow.
So where's the value in that? If it can be knocked off, there's
Yeah.
no value. The value is in the fact that people just like it no matter what. But what about if we could create something that always tracked ownership forever? So now when you have music, art, fashion, any kind of creative design, it could be a meme. If we know who made it and it's tracked to them forever, and they can attach a royalty rate forever, every time it's bought and sold, they get that royalty rate forever. And we know who the originator is because of the blockchain. Now collectibles are 1,000 times more valuable because now there's proof of ownership. And that's the game changer. That's what's completely different.
As you know, there was a war. Artsakh was attacked by Azerbaijan with the backing of Turkey. And Armenians all over the world were scrambling to raise funds for humanitarian efforts. And System of a Down, for example, they released 2 new songs for the first time in like 15 years, and they released it on YouTube in order to raise funds for
Wow.
Armenia, right? So I was thinking, well, could there be a creative way to actually raise money via Clubhouse and NFTs? Is there an interesting way that we can utilize the two in order to raise funds for these humanitarian efforts?
Yeah, I think NFTs are going to unlock so much value for, just people in need. But I think the most exciting aspect is raising money for charitable cause, social impact NFTs. That'll be the future of all NFTs, in my opinion, because people who are rich getting more rich, I don't think that's very sustainable. But if we're talking about equilibrium and eliminating wealth equality and shedding light on a global conflict, people in need, absolutely horrific things that we're doing to each other, and we need to raise money for that. It should absolutely be done through an NFT, whether it's of one songs or artwork or messages or videos. Edward Snowden, he was a whistleblower and he's very polarizing. Some people thought he's a traitor. Other people thought he was the savior of democracy. And then with his most recent NFT, that sold for $5.4 million. A week later, it got an offer for 7.5 million, and that buyer still hasn't accepted that offer. He's not selling it. So I want to say, when there are true humanitarians that need help and we can shed light on them through NFTs, and it's their genesis or it's an incredible story, I see great value on society shifting what we place value on. I see us placing value on actual heroes and helping the heroes monetize. And that hero, the heroic form, could take many shapes. It could be a story, an image, a video, something. And if we need to help propel their movement, their education, and that they need to enlighten the world about something, I have a good feeling a lot of us will support that with our wallets.
What are your thoughts? What exactly can we do? Because right now we have thousands of displaced families, we have injured soldiers coming home, we have prisoners of war who still haven't returned. What do you think could be a creative idea to somehow be able to raise funds? Like, what can we do? Because we have so many, we have a lot of famous Armenians, technically. We have artists, we have musicians. And they're all willing. I think everyone is just kind of looking for ways to do things now. We're all doing the best we can with the knowledge that we have, but I feel like there's this world right now in Clubhouse that we haven't quite tapped into, and it could actually end up being really, really helpful and useful to us.
There's a lot of foreign language rooms in Clubhouse. You'll see anything from Chinese to Korean, a lot of Persian rooms, Iranian. Any kind of a room that you put in a foreign language, it's automatically attract a lot of people, that applies to. And those rooms get really big really fast. If there's a million people and none of them are talking to each other, you're powerless. If there's a million people and they're all talking to each other and you form a community, that's powerful. If you're trying to raise money and everybody pitches in $5, that's instantaneously $5 million. So you want to build a community. That's the only way to empower anybody. It's the only way to raise money, activate anything, to create change, to do anything. You have to have a community. So where is the community currently? Are they on Telegram? Are they on an email? Are they on SMS text, Facebook? You want great engagement, and no engagement is better than voice. And that voice is on Clubhouse.
I have a friend, Davi, actually. He is an amazing music producer and DJ. And he recently made music with Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, and they released some songs as NFTs. And that's still such an abstract concept to me. I was trying to understand. So, okay, you release music as NFTs. What exactly does that mean? Because maybe that's something we can do in order to raise funds.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say you have music, just upload it right onto an NFT platform, mint it as yours. and you could sell it as one of one to the highest bidder, or you could sell 5 million copies for $1. So,
Oh,
and
oh,
it's
so
all,
that's an option too.
that's right.
Oh, that's so. How does that work? 5 million copies for $1.
You can just literally set how many copies you want to make instantly.
Clubhouse came at a time where many of us were really worried about the infringement on the freedom of speech. And then there you are hosting people like Edward Snowden and on a platform that's really, it really just relies on conversation. And it's such a place where people respect each other's sometimes conflicting ideas and perspectives. Like everyone gets to really express their ideas without being disrespected. It's very different from the Facebook world of like trolls and Twitter. So what do you think it is about Clubhouse that just made it blow up the way that it did?
It's fascinating. Twitter is so divisive. Facebook is divisive. It's so toxic. Both of those platforms are being weaponized, by big advertisers, big money interests. We have clickbait sensationalist journalism that literally makes people go to war with each other. They force us all to, unfriend our own friends and family and deactivate, delete yourself and cancel this and cancel that. And you can't have opposing views. And it is beyond shocking. And we have trained our society at large to accept censorship, which is even more shocking. As long as somebody disagrees with us, or if they disagree, you're automatically a racist, or you're automatically this supporter or that supporter. Or if you question vaccines, like you're also racist. And this is ludicrous. Why can't we have intelligent conversation, ask questions, and have respectful discourse and debate? That is what this democracy is based on. It's a underlying foundational pillar of democracy. So now we have Clubhouse where we're using actual voices. We're having conversations, and sometimes we don't get along, but we're being very respectful. We're listening to each other, and these rooms are really big, and we're using our voices. It's tied back to Twitter and your IG, so we kind of can verify your identity. And even though we're still kind of what is the word, anonymous in that sense, you don't see people trolling each other once they're tied into their IG or Twitter, which is odd because you'll still troll people on Twitter. But when there's a voice and a face, I think it's harder to just be a damaging troll. And I'm loving the community of Clubhouse. It's nearly a utopia of ideas and voices.
That's really a beautiful way of putting it. I absolutely agree. I mean, you being Korean and having immigrant parents, how do you feel like that has shaped the way that you conduct your business ventures? And do you feel like it's given you an edge or an advantage in any way?
Yeah, 100%. Moving to Minnesota, to America when I was 3 years old, and I was a really outgoing kid. And then when I came here, I had extreme culture shock. I got severely bullied, and it was horrific few years just dealing with the stuff that I dealt with. And people have gone through a lot worse in human history. I'm not trying to compare our different tragedies, but I definitely went through a really tough time, and now I have such an appreciation for to be able to communicate with people, to build friendships, to build community. I have such a deep appreciation that the fact that I have, what is that called? Perspective. I have insight. I came from such a dark place that anything good that happens, I'm so appreciative. I'm
Mm.
so happy. And the people that who don't have context or perspective, they have a hard time appreciating almost anything. And if you don't appreciate things, sometimes you don't work as hard. You don't, visualize goals and success. And when you come from such a tough background, you tend to, I think, work harder and appreciate more, and then you tend to work harder again. So for me,
Mm.
it was a tough upbringing, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that you've also been one to criticize cancel culture, victim culture. And I really have noticed in all of my friends who haven't been born here in the States, they are really fighting to to keep everything that America is about alive for us, to keep democracy alive, to really protect the freedom of speech, and to really just that this whole victim culture has really just changed the way that we approach a lot of issues in society, and it's created this cancel culture. And I really think it's one of the reasons why Clubhouse is so popular now, because people were starved for real conversation. People are afraid to actually express how they really feel because they're afraid that they'll get fired from their jobs. And with Clubhouse, you get to have these conversations with like-minded people, but then it disappears, kind of like stories on Instagram. It's not saved anywhere. It's not uploaded anywhere, as far as we know. So, so yeah, it's really interesting.
A lot of people have never heard opposing views before. When you're on Facebook or Twitter or IG, the last 2 or 3 years, you're just in an echo chamber, a beautiful velvet prison of your own ideas where no one just, disappoints you, and no one has an opposing view. And nothing in life is black and white. Everything is different shades of gray. And I would argue that there are millions of shades of gray. And the moment that you think you know everything is the moment that I think that I know nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And I just want to learn opposing views all the time because I know that nothing is black and white ever. You could have 10 different people watch a car accident and they're all going to describe it completely different. This
Yeah.
is something that every judge and jury knows in any courtroom. It's a fact of human condition. So how can we be absolute? And how can we just think everything is just our way or nothing at all? No one else has a voice. No one else has an opposing position. And then the fact that we've kind of brainwashed and programmed society not to allow that, to when you say weaponizing victimhood, yes, people are absolutely weaponizing victimhood, and they're using that as a tool of bullying others into submission, and that's terrible because that's diluting the actual voices of victims. I grew up as a victim of racism. My God, if there were data points, there'd be thousands and thousands of instances where I suffered racism. Nobody understands that more than anybody, me. But if somebody was to take racism and weaponize it to get what they want, it's such a slap in the face and an injustice to actual victims of racism or victims of any oppression. So we have to watch out for, unfortunately, there are bad people who are utilizing good things, and they're weaponizing that as cancel culture to get what they want, further an agenda, or to monetize off of it, which is not good. We need to be careful of that as well. This is a new psychological weapon, and it's being utilized with data, big data, and social media and mainstream news. We have to be careful. We need to find balance in our perspective and equilibrium of thought.
What are your plans now? Where do you go from here? Because being the king of Clubhouse and being such a huge influencer, people listen to you. They tune in specifically to listen to you hosting these rooms and to hear your opinions, your insight. Where do you take it from here?
I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm only on Clubhouse for 3 reasons. I just want to educate, enlighten, and give hope. And if those 3 markers are met, I'll host a room with anyone, any company, any person, any message, service, product, doesn't matter. I want to continue to do that. I want to scale that. And I feel like Clubhouse is already a utopia of ideas and voices and galvanizing community. And in order to create any kind of change in the world, and our world needs a lot of change, we need to galvanize them. When you look on Facebook and Twitter, I can't say one thing I could post a picture of a tree branch and I'll have 100 idiots yelling at me all about it. Like that's not going to get anybody anywhere. But when you can actually people hear your voice and your tone, it doesn't matter what you say. It's almost like they're picking up on how you feel. And as long as they can feel it, because sometimes you can't get the feelings out of the written word.
That's a good
If you
point.
can scale the feeling, maybe you can scale the action. And maybe the action is world peace. Maybe it's income equality. Maybe it's ending human trafficking or human slave labor. There's a lot of issues that need to be tackled, and we can only do that by galvanizing voices. So I want to continue to galvanize.
And can we also talk about your brilliant music venture that you started before Clubhouse?
Sure. So that's called Vest. That's my day to day. It's the world's first blockchain music royalty marketplace. It's an app that you can download, and people can buy songs like you could buy stocks. But if the song does well, you can earn a royalty dividend along with that artist, label, or publisher. So it kind of acts like Robinhood, like you're buying a fractional piece of, a stock, but instead of a stock, you're buying a fractional piece of music ownership. And yeah, you're basically crowdsourcing your own record album. So if a million people buys your album for $5 or part of your album, and they all promote it, then everybody gets rewarded on the upside. You're activating your audience.
That is such a brilliant idea. Seriously. How are you always 10 steps ahead? How do you come up with this stuff?
Thank you. We were a little too ahead of our time back then. People were just looking at us like, "What in the world are you talking about?" But then now that we're in a world of NFTs and fractionalized ownership of everything, and people totally understand Robinhood, that you can buy a dollar worth of a Facebook stock. Now that people understand fractional ownership, now we're getting a lot of calls.
How did you start to get into this world?
So, like you said, we were both in experiential event marketing, hosting parties and red carpets and celebrity functions. That transitioned into getting recruited into my first tech company called Circus. And I completely changed up their business model and re-architected their front and back end into how we could optimize something called, back then I called it organic influencers. That word is now called micro influencers. So grew it to 1 million micro influencers with 1 billion reach, scaled it to $250 million, exited that company in 2017. And then the original founders and investors recruited me for Vest to do for Vest what I did for Circus, which was to grow community and just galvanize voices and turn fans into hyper fans and turn hyper fans into brand evangelists. And we did a pretty good job. We signed BMG, third largest music publisher in the world. We have billions of dollars of song catalog under our library. We've already sold out of songs from people like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kanye, Post Malone, Bieber, Lady Gaga,
Wow.
Ariana Grande, The Weeknd, Aerosmith, and much, much more. So I feel like we're building traction again after the pandemic.
Like I said, one of the most brilliant minds I have ever come across. Jin, thank you so much.
You're too kind, my dear. I absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.